The best free test case management system I found is Qase.io, Qase.io. Other than the one I'm going to build, this is the best one I found so far. So in this video, I'm going to show you what this tool is all about. We're going to look at the front end, how to use it, and we're also going to look at the APIs, because the APIs are really important when you want to work with AI. You generate test cases on your own and you want to upload them to a tool like this, you use the APIs. And Qase.io have an awesome API. We're going to do a quick look at that. Okay. So all you have to do is just sign up. You can use Google or you can just use an email directly. So I'm already signed up. So I'm just going to log in. Now the free account would allow you to create 2 projects, right? It used to be unlimited projects when I first started using this, and they changed it. So they made the free one like have more limits. 2 projects. So I already have 1 project here. You can create another project. We will do it shortly. So this is the homepage basically, right? When you get in, this is what you're going to see. Now we're going to get into the API. When you click on your name right here, there is API token and API documentation. We'll get there. So if you ever used test case management systems, you kind of know what to expect. You expect test cases in some fields. That's really what they have here, but it's very clean and easy to use. Okay, so right now I have a project called ecom backend, right? So I'm working on an ecom website and I want to document test cases for the backend, and I have 37 test cases documented so far. So let's create another project for now. So I'm just going to call it ecom frontend, right? Ecom frontend. In fact, let me use something I used before, and it's going to be EFE is going to be the code. Like just like in JIRA, every project has a code, right? So all the test cases you're going to create, they're going to have this code dash the ID. So choose that, carefully. It's not that important, but something that will make sense if you want. And I'm good with just 3 letters right here. You can add a description. I can say collection of test cases for the front end. So we're going to make it private. Apparently you can make it public and you can have other people see it, but we're going to do private. You can add users. So on the free account, there's a limited number of users you can add, but before it was just unlimited. So if you want to work with a team, you kind of want to look at it. So in this video, I want to show you the tool, not the limitations of the free account. I'm assuming most people are either learning or have a personal project, right? You're learning software testing, you want a professional place to document your test cases, or you have a project where you want to document test cases. That's what I am focusing on. If you want to implement this at your company, of course, you got to dig a little bit deeper. You got to look into their security, into their licensing and all of that, right? So that's beyond the scope of this video. So we're going to create this project, and will take us inside of that project. This is an empty project. So we're going to create a suite. So let's create a couple of suites. I'm going to call it homepage suite. It's going to go into the root, and description is collection of homepage tests, right? So we're going to create that. Let's create another suite. So you can hit the plus icon here and you can just give it a name. Let's say login page project is going to go in the project row. Now we can create a suite inside of a suite. That is all up to how you want to organize your test cases, right? You have like a login page, then inside of it you have login and registration. You might have like my order page, and inside of that you might have a suite for refund processes. You might have a suite for like new orders and existing orders. However you want to organize it, it's basically folders. That's really what they are. The way I visualize it is I visualize it as they are folders. So let's put it in the root. And the description is login tests collection. Now we have 2 suites here. So inside of the suites, you can create test cases. So now we have the 2 suites here. It will show here. You just create a test case. We'll come back to that. So we have navigation here. I don't use most of it, because I do basic things. Test runs are really awesome. Once we have a bunch of tests, you can create test runs. Then let's focus on test case management right now, right? Because ultimately the goal is to have AI generated test cases documented here. That's really what we want, because in my SDET AI lab, that's what we do. We go to ChatGPT, Gemini, things like that, like the UI, and we generate tons of test cases. And to take those test cases and upload them one at a time is really, really time consuming. So we use the API and we let the AI write a script to do that. So I'll put a video in the description. Actually, I'm creating a video right after this, creating a Python script that will use AI generated test cases use the API and upload everything onto here, right? In this video, I just want to do like a summary of what this project is, what this application is. So you create test cases. Let's just do a quick test case. A new test case. I can say verify products are displayed. Status. It will give you certain statuses, right? We can just leave it as actual. You can give it a description. The suite, you already selected where to put it when you're creating it, but you can just change the suite if you want to. And everything else is basic, right? I don't need to explain the fields. There's several fields. Now, for a free account, you cannot customize this. You cannot create your own custom fields. You have to use whatever they give you, but they give you plenty. For me, most importantly, I use this automation status because all my courses are automation. So we document a bunch of tests, then we automate them. So when we automate them, we got to come back here, and whatever is automated, we're going to mark it as automated or manual. So you always start out with manual, then you automate it and change it to manual. And you do all of that via API when you want to go fast. But this is just a form. Depending on how your team works, depending on the fields that are important to you, you can set all those forms. Then that's it. Like everything else here is just a form, right? You have to play around. It's not like you're going to memorize it if I explain what each form field does. Okay, so there's conditions. You can add tags. You can later on when you want to group tests, it makes it easier for you to tag. If you use tags, some teams use tags, some teams don't. So you can tag that particular test case. You can add parameters. You can attach images and videos and things like that. So you create a test case. You hit save. And now you have a test case here, right? So you can create another test case right here without opening it. You can create a test case. Now, then you can click that and you can click on edit and you'll get the same form that we had. You have some quick form fields here, but you get more when you do edit right here, right? The same thing we just saw, okay? So we talked about projects. So let's just go out and let's look at it from the project perspective. We look at projects. Now we have two projects. The new one we created, the front end, and the old one, for the backend, right? So this is what it looks like. You basically have a bunch of suites. Inside of the suites, you have test cases. You could have other suites also. I didn't do that here, but inside of the suite, you can have more test cases. So it's really, really simple. If you ever use TestRail or TestLink, this is like a simplified but fancier version of that. It's like, it's crazy. How can you be simplified but also fancier? That's how I feel about it. It's really nice, modern, and they're growing. They're fairly new. They're adding AI stuff to it. I use it only for personal projects so far. So I haven't used their AI functionality and stuff, but I have a plan to build something similar and that goes, beyond, because these days building is this thing. Distribution is a different story. All right. So test runs, let's look at test runs real quick. You can start a test run and you can add which test cases do you want from your test run. So this is really nice for your automation. So you can connect it with your CI/CD pipelines, your GitHub Actions, your Jenkins, or your GitLab. You can connect all of that so you can update that. You can update the test runs because one, they have the API, so you can customize it as you want. Two, they also have Python libraries. They have a PyTest plugins and other framework plugins where your automation would automatically update your test run. But you can create a test run. You can give it a name. Let's say it's going to be automated. Oh, for the free account, they don't support that. So because when you say automated, they're expecting you to integrate with tools. So let's just do manual for now. And you can actually select test cases, whatever test cases you want. Let's say I want everything that is in WooCommerce customers. So right now I want to create test cases for the customers API. So I'm going to say done, test run. So now I have a test run here that's basically saying, oh, these are the test cases on a test run. You know what if you're doing this, you're probably already a QA, so you know what a test run is. You have test cases, which is a list of test cases, a list of tests, right? Then a test run is when you're actually executing those. So here you can mark and pass, fail, and you get a percentage. If you have an automatic syncing of your automation, all of this will be updated to automatically. So that's what I use for the most part, test cases and test plans. Those are the nice things, but of course there's all kinds of things here. But I want to get into the API because the API is the fun part. So if you click on your name right here in this API docs, you click on the API docs and then basically tons of documentation. This is a Swagger documentation. It's a really, really good documentation. You can even test it. So we can quickly try that out. Okay. So you have to read it. Like in this video, I can't go through, the API descriptions and everything. We can just try it and see it. This is fairly straightforward. So we could look at, for example, projects, right? In the projects, we have several of them that says several endpoints. One of the endpoints is get all projects. So this will list out all the projects and we can actually try it. So we need credential. It's an API. It's not public, it's private, right? So we got to have credential. So let's create a credential. So I'm going to go back to the home, back to your username right here, and you say API token. And then you just generate a new token. I'm going to say YouTube video. I'm going to create it. Here is my API token. Now I'm just displaying it because I'm going to get rid of this, but this is very sensitive credential, right? You don't want to show this to people. You definitely got to get rid of it if somebody sees it. So we're going to copy that. We're going to put it into this token field, and we're going to click on try. Now we got the API response right here. Okay, we got the API response, and it's going to show us we have two projects. We have the ecom backend project and ecom frontend project, and we can make the same API call from Postman. I prefer Postman because I can save it for later. Now every time you leave the tab, you come back, you have to set this up and everything from scratch. So let's copy it. Postman is awesome. All you have to do is just copy the curl call, copy the curl, open Postman. This is Postman. Open a new tab. And as soon as you just paste the curl call here, it automatically set it up for you. Right? You don't have to go and select the method and things like that. You got the curl, the entire curl here. You just put it in the field and it automatically set that up. We look at header section here. You already put the credentials right there in the header. All you have to do is hit send. And it should work. We got a 200 back. And here is the response body. The same thing. We have two items. We have entities. And inside of the entities, we got two pieces. Okay. Let's do one more API call. For example, let's do a post call when we create a test case, because that's an API we're going to use in the next video to create a bunch of test cases that are AI generated. So instead of projects, we're going to go to cases. We go to cases. These are all the endpoints. We can list test cases. We can create test cases. So let's look at the create test case, a post call. And you can see there are several fields here. Okay. A lot of fields, but only few required. So the code is required. It's not very clear, but this is the code for the project, which project we're going to add it to. So let's say we want to add it to our new project, the front end project. There's only two test cases. And we know it is called EFE, right? EFE is a project name. So in the code, we're going to do EFE. All right. Then another required is the title. So I'm going to say TC1 from API. I'm just going to give it a title. And there's no other required field. But all those fields are the fields we saw when we did the form, right? If you're trying to use the UI, put in all the fields. It's pretty much all those fields, including the drop downs here. So for example, for the I was looking for the automated, not automated. Oh, okay. So you have to put an integer, 1 or 2. You have to actually figure out what those are. You can make another API call to see what the values are. So for this form field, you need to know what the values is. Probably a 1 or a 2, a 0 or something like that. Let's keep it basic. And this is the API. So we're going to click on try, and it created one. ID is 3. So if we go back here and we refresh the page, we're going to get a test case on the top left without a suite, right? There you go, TC1 from API. So we created a test case using the API, but we didn't give it a project. So we didn't tell it what suite to put it on, to put it in. So it basically created it outside of any of the suites. So there's a test case without suite. There is a field here that we can specify the suite ID. Now we would need to know what the suite ID is. If we don't know what the suite ID is, you need to make another API call that says get suites, right? So let's see if it's right here, right? You see suites here. If we make the API call, let's actually do it. Code is EFE. We're gonna do try, and it will tell us what the suites are. So suite ID 1 is the home page. Suite ID 2 is login page. So we're gonna do that. Now we're going to go back to case. You see how I like doing it in Postman? Right now we're going to lose this. As soon as I switch tabs, all of this is gone. If you do it in Postman, so for example, I can copy this and come back here, open a new tab, paste it right there, and I'm ready to go. It's going to paste everything. Now, of course, you want to take the credentials and put it into an environment and things like that, so we don't have to repeat it on every tab. If something changed, now you're going to have to come and change all of this, right? That's for another topic, how to save this in a variable. That's one thing you want to do. Okay, so let's do login page, which is 2. So we're going to go back to cases. We're going to create a new test case, and EFE is the project name, and the titles are going to be new test API 2, and we're going to give it a Suite ID of 2, and we're going to say try it. Now we're going to see it in the login page, right? We're going to see our new test case. I just refresh. It should have been in login because we gave it 2. Wasn't it successful? It was a 200 through result 4. That's EFE. We created it in the right place. New test API 2. Oh, that's weird, right? We created it. So let me do a refresh again. Maybe we refresh too fast. EFE repository, PC from API. Oh, it doesn't look like it was collapsed. It was collapsed. It's right there. It was created in the right place. So you can give it a suite, right? So a lot of fields. It's an API. It's a robust API. You can do a lot of things with it. So a lot of fields. So I don't want this video to be really long. I don't want it to be in depth. It's already pretty long. But I just wanted to show you, like, you have to go play around with it. It's not something you watch on video and learn. Just like everything else in engineering, you have to play with it. So it's a really awesome test case management system. I just want to introduce it to you. And in my AI lab, we use it. We use AI to generate test cases, and then we use AI to document it. So it's a nice test case management system. I just wanted to do a quick introduction. So check out all the links in the description. I have a free course, Software Testing Fundamentals. That's what I do. I'm a software engineer in test. I teach software testing. I have a really good program which you can try for free for a month, become a professional SDET. So check all that out. All of that in the description. And any questions you have, of course, put it in the comments or send me a message. I'll be happy to help.